Hey guys, it's Rick with Rick's Toy Room. I'm here with Dusty today and we are doing a quick video on how to upgrade your Detloft display cabinet. So if you guys are checking out the Instagram lately, after we did the Comic-Con, we decided to go buy some Detlofts from Ikea. We assembled them and we put our autographed helmets and our video games inside the displays. They were looking good, but they needed a upgrade. So this is going to be the first of 3 upgrade videos that I do for the Detlofts to really make this display pop. Now, this is the most important upgrade video because this is going to add lighting. You can do whatever you want for the lighting. I chose a side panel, as you can see in the cutaway here. You can decide to do top and bottom level. You can do just top levels of each shelf. You can do no lighting, totally up to you. But I want to show you how we did this 4-panel lighting on the actual Detloft cases. So first thing you need to buy are some parts. Now, the good news is there wasn't a lot needed to actually do this upgrade. Get yourself a spool of LEDs. We went with the 4-wire RGB LEDs. You're gonna need some LED extension cable. So this is gonna be used to separate each of the sections on the cabinet to allow us to expand but not run LEDs in every single inch. Thought it gave it a much cleaner look. Then we went and bought some diffuser track with, here's the track, and my diffusers came up missing. Here they are. So what this will do is, this allows you to run the LEDs in your track and then diffuse them so that you don't see like massive hotspots on your LEDs. So those are the only 3 things that we had to actually buy for this assembly. Obviously, what else you're going to need? Some other things. You need scissors to cut your LED strips. You're going to want a soldering iron to connect all your wire. And then you're going to need some wire cutters to cut and strip the wires. So, let's talk about it. I've already pre-cut most of these, but when you get your LED strips, what I did was I measured the strips out to the actual channels here for the diffusers. Now, what was cool is the ones we found were 12 inches long. The case is actually 15 inches in display properties between shelves. So I thought the 12-inch diffuser panels were a great choice so that we could have just one set of lights and then kind of break it up and give some space between the channels. So I went through and I pre-sliced these out to essentially 12 inches. And you do that by, if you look closely at the strip here that you get, you'll see your LEDs actually have these cut angles. So when you're slicing your LEDs or when you're separating them, you will measure out your LED strip. For instance, we're actually going to do this one here. This is the connector that goes from the LEDs to your actual power strip. And what I want to do is I want to take this one, because we're actually going to keep the factory install here. I'm not going to modify this. I'm going to measure this out, and we're going to cut right here. And this is going to be our piece that we use from the power supply to the channels and then out to the rest of the strips. So let's go ahead and give that a nice cut right down the middle line. It's not going to be centered. There we go. All right, cut that off. You're going to do this now 9 more times. So I've already done the other 8. They're right here. So now I have 9 full inches for the LEDs, or excuse me, 9 feet of LEDs for the 9 channels that we're going to install on the case. Next thing you're going to want to do, and I've already pre-done this on this one here, is you're next going to go through and you're going to pre-solder each of those copper tips. So all you got to do is grab your soldering iron, heat it up, touch the copper end, tap some solder in there so that it pre-solders these connections. Do that on each side. And the reason you do this is it's going to make soldering your wires a lot cleaner. It's going to be easier to do. Now, the other thing I need to do, but I don't seem to have my tape measure with me, is measure out 4 inches of your extension LED wire. And I went with 4 inches because it actually leaves us a very nice spacing between each of the LED strips plus the shelves. And it also allows me to go behind the Detloft design for the metal racks where the shelves are at. Gives it a real clean look. So we're going to do that. We're going to cut up 12 inches, or excuse me, we're going to cut off 4 inches of the extension wire. We're going to do that another 8 times because that's how much how many connector wires we need. Once we cut these off, we're going to trim these and basically, again, pre-solder them. So we can actually do that real fast right now. I'm just going to go ahead and separate these cables out a little bit. And then we're just going to snip a small bit off. You don't need to strip a lot of this wire, just enough to get the job done. You just want enough that you can get to just about that much so that you can pre-solder it and then tap it down into each of your RGB and 12 volt connections. Once you have all these cut to length, stripped, trimmed, solder them all together. Now you can do this in any order that you want. You can either start at the end with the power, solder these through. You can start at the end where the line's gonna finish, solder it up. Whatever order you wanna do these in makes no difference. Once you have them all soldered up, I'm not gonna install them on the channel just yet. What we're gonna do is we're gonna feed them into the case, run them up the sides, come across the top, back down the end. We're gonna feed the power connector out of the bottom wherever your door opens. So the Detloft cases allow you to design them or assemble them so that the case can open to the right or open to the left. On my case, mine opens to the left, so I fed my wires up the right, over the top, back down the left, ended with the power strip coming out of the bottom left corner, fed it through the opening where the door opens, plugged it in, and it lights up just fine. So we're gonna do that right now. We're gonna go measure up the power cables. We're gonna get the soldering done. Once we finish that, we're gonna come back, movie magic. We'll do the feeding. Then I'll show you how to install your channels, install the diffuser, and you'll have a nice light up display case. All right, we'll be right back. All right, so movie magic, we have everything wired in. So we've ran all the jumper wires between all the pieces. We've got the electrical end here. All these are done. We've tested it. Now let's go line everything up into the display case. So I like to do the case, I always start at the end where it's gonna stop at, work my way back out to where the power is gonna go so that I've got enough space, I kind of know how I'm lining everything up, etc. So because we've already wired the power in, it really doesn't matter necessarily which way you feed through. I'm gonna feed through with just the unpower cable because we're gonna take the power cable and I'm actually gonna slide it right through here. And once it gets, actually it's gonna come back this way. Because what will happen is, why is this case so much thicker than the other one? All right, well, we're gonna do it the other way. So we go in this way. Send the wires through here so that the power lights, the power strip, will actually make it when we feed, we plug it in. So I'm just gonna feed all this through right now. And when I soldered everything in, I made sure I soldered everything the exact same way, the exact same direction, so it'll all lay nice and flat. If your solder connections are good, you're not gonna have to worry about some of this little bending, this little twisting, but if your solder connections are bad, you may disconnect your light. So after I feed all this through, I'm gonna test to make sure nothing's disconnected. That way, if we need to stop, go get the soldering iron, we can do that. Let's get this all fit through. Now, I saw some guys that have done full strips where they bought one set of channel and it runs all the way through here and they drilled through the case. I'm not a super big fan of drilling through the case. A couple reasons, just in case I don't want it to have LEDs anymore, or maybe I find a different type of LED. I didn't want a super permanent solution in the case. I just want it to look nice. And we're almost through. Last sets. All right. And now, this is what it's going to look like. There we go. When it's actually in the case. So this power cable here will hang out, and when you close the door, it doesn't actually pinch because it's flat wire. And then this is going to run up against the sides. We'll have the channels set right here. I use the actual metal bar as a guide for the channel so that they stay level. We'll just kind of eyeball it out here, and we'll run these all the way across. So let's plug in, make sure we still have lights. Line up the arrows. There we go. And cable's a little short, we're gonna use just a quick temporary. All right, reds look good. Where's the remote? Hit the other colors. There's green. Oh, we got a connection problem. The green out here is out. I'm gonna fit the soldering iron, hit it again. Let's check blue. Blue's out too. Oh wow, blue's out everywhere. And white. Everything lights up. Okay, kill it. And we're gonna have to go with the soldering iron in here and fix some connections. So, all right, we'll be back. Fixed our soldering issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and feed these up into the shelves now. We'll just come up here and we'll just walk them up. Let's give ourselves some space. And I'm going to do each single shelf one at a time so that we don't tear up the soldering connections, tear up the LEDs. Because it would really suck that once we get these up here, having to resolder them in flight, in line, or have to replace one of these LED sections. All right, so let's go a couple more up just to keep the loose wire out of the way. All right, so good to go. This goes like this. This will hang up at the top like so. Actually, we've got an extra section in here. I miscounted. So we need to take one of these sections out. But let's test the lights first, and then we will fix that problem. Quick little solder job, and it'll be all better. We overcounted. All right, greens look good. Hit the remotes, let's check the other colors. Remote sensor, there we go. Oh, blue's out again. All right. White is, what's red doing? It's not red. Zero. All right, well, red's off. Green, blue, and white's off. Okay, so we know red's good up to here because all these lights are white. That's the combination of all three colors. We know blue's good up to there, and we know green's iffy. All right, so let's fix from here out. So I'm actually take this section out because I actually don't need it. Oh, I need that section. What section do I need here? So this goes up. This is here. Then this section basically will come out. So we're going to go ahead and disable this section anyhow because we've got a soldering problem. And then we will go from there. All right, we'll be back. All right, so as you can tell, we went back through. We did catch a couple wiring issues. We've got it all fixed. So all of our colors work now. Our intensities work for our oranges, our reds, our greens, our teals. Everything's back. So now what do we do? And again, I like to work from the bottom up. So what we're going to do is we're going to double-sided tape one of the channels. I'm going to line it up here. Again, using the bar as my level. I'm going to pick about the halfway point. I'm going to feed the wire up so that you can't see what's happening. So you can't see it. The wire has a double-sided tape. It fits right down the middle channel here. So there's a little channel that's completely flat that we're going to peel back the double-sided tape on the LEDs, put those in, we'll feed those up, we'll double-sided tape this, and then we'll put our diffusers in. And the reason we use the diffusers, if you see against the glass, you see all the dots for the individual LEDs. Once we put the diffuser in, and they just snap in, they've got a little C channel here. Once you put the diffuser in, it will limit the amount of brightness you get from each individual LED and give you a more uniform flow across all of your products. So let's do that for a second. I'm gonna kill the power just in case one of these connections does short out. I'm not gonna electrocute myself. So let's go ahead and just take that out. And now let's get some work done. So I'm gonna start from the bottom so that I know how much slack I've got going back to the beginning. We're going to peel off our double-sided tape somewhere where we can find a spot to get in. That works. I'm going to line this up to about center. There we go. And again, you've got enough space inside the channel. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but I don't want any of it hanging out the bottom. It doesn't need to be fully, centered down the channel. We're good there. Let's get sometimes these have a little plastic film on them. Sometimes they don't. Just depends on the seller. Also, I don't remember if I already removed the plastic off these. This one might already be clear. All right, so let's put this in the C channel before we double tape it down. And the reason I do that is because it's actually easier to manipulate this and work the C channel without it actually being installed on the glass. That way you're not putting too much pressure on your cables. Get that lined up. And this doesn't seem to, the channels aren't very big, so if you don't get this thing lined up perfectly at the beginning, especially at the top, there it goes, it's going to be off and you got to peel the whole thing out and do it over again. Like that one is, there we go. Doesn't have to be perfect, but try and make it nice. There we go, nice and lined up. Beautiful. Now I'm using good old-fashioned Scotch double-sided tape. The kit came with this rubber 3M style. I'm going to use this for the power supply. It's a little bit heavier, but for the channels and LEDs, the Scotch double-sided is just fine. Get yourself a nice little strip. Put it on the side of the channel that's going to go against the glass. And I'm going to get a little bit more in there. Beautiful. And then, like I said, just kind of eyeball it. We're not, this isn't some kind of architect school. This isn't any kind of super special fancy $1 million case. $150 for the case, $10 for the channels, $30 for the LEDs, a little time and solder. $200. It doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, so now that that's in, you see how much slack we now have for the next one, and we just work our way up. So I'll do one more of these. Again, we're going to check the lights to make sure we didn't loosen anything up. So let's do the next one. Channel over here. Get the LEDs lined up. There you go. Work your way up. Get her in there, beautiful. Your solder job's hidden inside the channel. The LEDs are fairly centered. Oh, and the double-sided tape down here gave out. As no bueno. Really just gotta hold it for a little bit. All right. This one didn't have it either, okay. All right, and looks like the humidity in here today has got that double-sided tape not wanting to stick. So we may move to the 3M product here in a second. Okay. There we go. All right. So you get the gist of it. I'm going to stop the video to help finish doing this, and you guys are gonna watch me struggle. We're gonna put the 3M on this to get this locked into place. We'll finish these up, and then we'll come back when we're about to do the top. All right. All right, so we've got the right side all the way done here. Show you what it looks like real quick. And so again, you can see through here how without the diffuser on it, you see all the individual LEDs, but with the diffuser, it looks like one nice little bar. Came back to do the top because I want to talk about when you do this, how to do this part. I don't want to say right, but I don't want to say just do it better, right? So first things, on this Detloft cabinet, you have the magnets here. What you don't want to do is run this light all the way up the front. You won't be able to close your door. It'll smack the LEDs, smack the case. So you want to offset this actually back behind the magnet. Now you don't want to go all the way in the back in the middle, obviously, but you want to put it just far enough back where you can close your door and you're not going to have a problem. So make sure I'm back behind that. Just kind of eyeball that up a little bit. That's about right. Okay. So let's get this double-sided tape peeled off. And we switched to the 3M because, like I said, it was humidity in here is really killing the scotch. It's not that these pieces are heavy. It's just that they're it just can't keep up with Florida. All right. So we go back up in here, about the halfway point. Good there. Let's bring it back a little bit. About there. A little over. And bingo, bingo, bongo. All right. So, got the railing in. I'm going to kill the power, like I said, just in case. We don't want no accidents. And we're going to put this set in. Now, one of the good parts about having this extra wire is it's super flexible and it kind of hides up behind the cabinet. So when this is closed, when the door closes, what you'll notice, I'm just going to bring this back a little bit here. There we go. When the door closes, you'll notice these metal brackets that do the magnets actually will hide the wire. So it's a fairly clean install. I mean, you don't see a lot of the access here. So let's go ahead and peel the tape on this. Down here. There we go. Almost had it. Fat collector sausage fingers. I'm trying not to pull too heavy on the cables because I don't want to stress them any more than I have to. But I just can't get this back in. There it goes. Alright. Peel the backing. Let's look in here, kind of line her up. And there we go. Now there are tons of solutions online, both Amazon, eBay, Google, tons of solutions where a lot of this work is pre-done for you. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, maybe you could have bought a kit to do all this, but I really enjoy doing the work myself. It kind of just gives a lot of, I don't want to say necessarily use the word pride, but it's just kind of like, I did that, right? Like, I did it myself. I didn't need anybody else to do the wiring. I didn't need anybody else to make me little kits. And at the end of the day, it just feels more like yours. And I'm just pushing the channel in. That's what I wanted. A nice little snap sound. Beautiful. All right, so that's in. And we're going to finish up this last row. We'll come back. We'll show you the completed product. Clean up the room, give you the nice couple shots. We also got some parts, and I'm going to show that to you once we come back as well. So we'll be right back. All right, so as you can tell, we finished wiring everything up. I put everything back in the display case. Again, looking at the front of the case, once you close this with the little magnet there, everything sits flush. You can't really see the wires that are up here that run up for the top bar. The ones on the sides you're really not paying attention to. And again, you see with the diffuser that the diffuser really does break up all the little dots. Last thing we're going to install is a motion sensor. the motion sensor basically plugs in from the outlet to the wall to the actual piece that controls the RGB. So we're going to take that, unplug it, plug this in right down the middle, and right here on the end, and it should kick off here in just a second. Now, the behind the scenes of these, you have a little switch here that you can turn to see how long you want the light to stay on when the motion is detected. So let's get that to kick up. Maybe we have to turn this back on. There we go. And now, after just probably, I think it's set for about 30 seconds to a minute, no motion, the lights will turn themselves off. This way you're not going to be burning up a ton of power running the LEDs. You're not blasting all your product on full display. And I'm just waiting here a second. There it goes. So it turned itself off. Once it detects motion, it comes back on. So I'm actually going to mount this. When I did mine last time, this is the upside of tape here. I mounted it right here above this latch. And because doing that, I can run this power strip. Now we can mount this to the side of the glass. You've got real low profile. It's out of the way. Your motion sensor still will get picked up, and you can still open the door and not pinch any of these wires. So I'm gonna go ahead and double-sided tape that into position real quick. And now we're just gonna leave the power on. I need my knife. Goodness. All right. And it doesn't matter if it's which side's up, which side's down. You want to put it in just far enough though, so that when you open the door, you're not pushing on these cables too heavy. Let that sit for a couple seconds. All right, now when you mount your power cable, and I've got the mounting tape for that down here. See, now that's how easy that should just peel apart. Put that on the back of the box. Peel this half off. All right, what I did with this, and you can do it a couple different ways, but I wanted to leave some slack here because you don't want, like I said, what you don't want to do is be pulling on these cables so much when you open and close the door. I don't want a ton of slack, I just don't want so little slack that we damage anything. All right, that leaves the color sensor up front, and then you can just run this cable back here. Now, I actually have cable hider that I use that I will wrap this in so that you just have one cable going to this box and then one coming off, but that is for another video. So, that's it. That's the case. We're gonna clean up the room, but a couple things to talk about when you're doing these. One of the things that we had to learn the hard way. One, order spare parts. We bought the channels in sets of 6, so it's $10 for 6. Doing 2 cases using 9 channels was 18 total. Luckily, we had to order a 3rd set, so 3rd actually gave us the complete math to figure that out fine. The LEDs, we bought them in packs of 2, buy them in packs of 4, excuse me, because one actually had a problem. The other thing about the LEDs is the amount of LEDs per foot. If you're doing a case like this and you want it really, really bright, pay attention to LEDs. The cheaper LEDs are only 5 little LEDs per strip. This here, I want to say is almost 20. We ended up buying 600 LEDs for 10 meters. And they were, came in a roll of 30. So that's 20 LEDs per foot. So that gives you the nice, clean, bright display here. So when you're buying your LEDs, pay attention to that. You look for a minimum of 10/600. Again, we actually had a failure on one of our motion sensors. This cable here was actually already screwed up. So luckily we bought these. These were 3 for $10. Buy extra parts, save yourself some time. One of the reasons why the video took us a couple days to finish, and obviously different sets of clothes, because we had a problem with one of the LED sets and had to order a whole other batch and parts. So with that, guys, hopefully that gives you a really cool idea that you can do with your cases. The next thing to do, these actually will respond to music. So The next thing to do is going to be put in some kind of Raspberry Pi. No, the motion sensors. Figure that out in a few minutes. Put in a Raspberry Pi, run some music with the motion sensor so that it'll play the Halo theme and this will blink to the Halo music. But that's the case. We're going to clean up all the fingerprints. We're waiting for the games to come back. Waiting for the games to come back from WADA. They've been sent out to be graded. They said it should be about 20 days. They're going to receive them on Monday. So, yeah, that's it. We'll show you the rest of the case once the games are back. Thanks, guys.